Hey everybody, welcome to episode 104 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. Welcome back. I'm Ben, and normally we'd be joined with Bloodtithe Ben, but he is trekking around the world, so we've dragged on our 3D printing correspondent and TO extraordinaire, Ian Triple Pow Triplo. Trips, how you doing?
I'm good, Ben. How are you doing yourself?
Not bad. It's been a very busy few weeks. So we haven't had a podcast, I think, since... When was the last time we did the podcast? Was it after...
It was the a GS Bowl wrap-up when we were all still on the high of all those games of Blood Bowl, streaming from the garden tent.
Yeah, and we've got Bonehead Bowl coming up in 2 weeks.
2 and a bit weeks, yeah.
Oh, wow, 2 weeks. That'll be cool. So that's going to be at Entoyment, and that's mixed teams madness. So, yeah, Milton will want me to tell all of you people this. We've got 50 coaches signed up. I know we've had a few dropouts now already, but that's fine. If you come in, please get your rosters in. Where it's mixed teams and Dungeon Bowl teams and stuff, we want to make sure that we've got the rosters in on time so that we can check the rule sets.
Yeah, we've already had a few coaches going, could you just check? I don't think this is legal. And you're like, it's really nice, but no, that is breaking at least 2 of the rules of the roster builder, but well done.
Oh, it's just so tempting, isn't it? Like, we've got the rules for this one, I think, are a lot simpler than they used to be, or they're exactly the same. We just framed them a little simpler. But it just means that there's like 600-700 combinations. Like it's so good.
I like the fact that people are like, can I try and get this star player with this team that they shouldn't be playing with? And you're like, yes, that is exactly the way to think about it.
Well, that's really interesting about this time round, because the last time we did a mixed team event was Mega Bowl, which was the first like bit of Blood Bowl after the apocalypse. And then before that, it was Bonehead Bowl, and that was back in this Blood Bowl 16, where star players, I mean, star players weren't a massive thing, were they, back those days?
No, it was tournaments were more about cramming in big guys rather than getting one, or as we're seeing now, 2 star players in a lineup.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think like Griff has always been good. But I think Roxana Darknail was probably the like, because nowadays you're like, oh yeah, Ogres with Griff, OWA with Griff. They kind of got like a team type, which is the star player. In fact, when we even did the tournament, we broke down the teams and we described them as team with whatever star players they had. So
team with star,
yeah, because it's like a subset of roster now. I saw in the Blood Bowl community today someone with a trophy in the OWA, like saying OWA aren't broken, and the first comment down there was like Griff, yep, Griff, definitely Griff.
Yes.
But I think Roxana in Blood Bowl 2016 was probably the only star player that kind of warped a roster.
Yeah, there was the Roxana roster, wasn't there? Of the you pick her, and then you depending on how many TV you've got, you build around her. Or you could. There was just about the Griff and the lineman bill, which I know I took to a beachhead once, but otherwise,
is that what you were running a beachhead when we played?
Yeah, it was Griff, literally Griff and his boys. It was like Griff.
Feel like you
I
had
think a thrower for a leader caddy,
a blitzer with guard, or something aggravating as well. That was it. That was a great game. That was a proper shootout. It was a 3-2 result. Yeah. Oh man, that was the first beachhead, wasn't it?
Yeah, back in the days when it's like, yeah, we can TO and play,
which went fine until it got to round 3, and it was kind of like, we can't do this. So bless Ian Hanham was like, I don't mind. He'd gone 0-2 with Nurgle at that point, and was like, yeah, it's really fine. I really don't mind not playing the third game, Ben.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think we're definitely seeing that with the stars coming in and the players. So I think we'll see a few really mad rosters. And what I'm really looking forward to seeing is if someone's going to take 2 stars that you would never see together and put them into the same team, probably surrounded by snotlings and goblins.
Yeah, maybe Cheney and Bomber. We could see that. You can take Can you take? I think you can take Griff and Bomber with ogres.
Yeah, I would imagine there's a few people going, how do I get a cheap bribe into the team and then have the team I want as well?
Yeah, and 1100, it's tight, and that's what I like about these rule sets is that you can do this kind of stuff, but it's got an internal balancing factor of accountancy. You know, if Jimmy Carr ever starts playing Blood Bowl, we're all in trouble.
Oh, we'll be suddenly like, how did you get 74 players to turn up today?
I just used beer balls, which I think was the story at SCA, wasn't it? It was just like I've got one or two beer balls, so I can afford all the star players I need.
Oh, I'm sure someone somewhere there's a Norse roster where you go, right, so I need to get 4 Norse players in, so that's 2 beer balls.
Oh, of course, yes.
And a snot. I reckon couple of beer balls and snotlings or goblins at really low lineman cost. You could probably get an awesome big guy. There's probably a Yeti 2 big guy 2-star roster there somewhere.
Ogres might be better, just because I know you can get trolls in, but trolls aren't. They're just trolls are terrible.
Trolls are best to line up on the line of scrimmage and then leave there for
and then
7
never
turns.
Activate again. Although I think the troll vomit is a useful little addition that I think we've all forgotten about. But every now and again it comes up, doesn't it?
I had in my first game in the Employment League a new coach there who was following Bonehead videos for how it's set up, which was quite disturbing.
Oh, Adam.
Adam, yeah, he went straight in there with the troll vomit as part of his troll full house. He literally he did everything he could do with a troll, including eating a goblin.
Oh, good lad.
Although I think from having seen him the other night, I think his troll has now eaten more goblins than he has casualtied opponent players.
Yeah, they should definitely get SPP for eating their own goblins. And intercepting other thrown players. I think those are the 2 things left to go that are still needed in the rulebook. But yeah, no. Anyway, what we're going to do today is Trips. You talk us through what we're going to be talking about today.
Excellent. Well, today, with just a single Ben, we shall be talking through a bit of Blood Bowl news, talking about what games we played and some hobby, and then we're going to talk about some of our league play through the Employment League we're both playing in, and take that into some bad matchups for teams.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a podcast, and we've had so much to talk about on the last couple of podcasts that we really don't feel like we've had a chance to talk through some of the great games and some of the stuff that we've been doing. So a bit of a catch-up episode, and yeah, we've got quite a few bits of Blood Bowl news worth looking at as well. So right, but let's begin with a bit of hobby and games. Right. Actually, we do news first. Man, it feels how long it feels like it's been since we've done a podcast. We'll do news, then we'll talk hobby and games, and then we'll talk matchups. You just said it. You literally just talked me through it.
Only like I read it off the list.
Oh, well, we do actually have some Kickstarters kicking around at the moment, which is pretty cool. And the first one we're going to look at today is the Savannah Team STL Kickstarter. Now, this is by Galadur's 3D printed teams, and they did the Kickstarter for the Savannah team earlier this year, I think. It was this year, wasn't it? Like April time?
Yeah.
I think we can click through and actually see the original campaign.
Yeah, April. Crikey, where has this year gone?
I know. Well, I know. It's nearly Christmas, dude. Like, it's actually genuinely nearly Christmas. There we go. We can ignore that. So yeah, it was April time. Now they're back, basically saying, well, we've done the Kickstarter. 3D printing is now kicking around and really popular in Blood Bowl land, as I think it should be, to be honest with you. And basically Galadur just wants more people to be able to have access to the STLs. So it's a pretty good price point for this one. It's £22 for the base team, which is right. We'll talk through what's in it, then we'll talk through what you can use it as, I think. You get an elephant, you get 4 rhinos, 2 hippos, and 8 monkeys. There's a standard licensed team with goals as well, where you get stretch goals. There's an ultimate team for £40, which has got 6 rhinos basically, and some extra star players. And then there's I think there's an ultimate one, or is that the ultimate one? I think that is the ultimate one. Yeah, the ultimate one has got everything in. So £40 for an STL team that has got an absolute ton of players. But it's a weird theme. I really like it. You get a big guy with an elephant. It's a savannah theme, so it's all safari, and you get a whole bunch of rhinos who are basically strength 4 size, a couple of hippos who again are strength 4 size, and you got strength 2 scale, basically monkeys, and 2 baboon runners here. So Trips, we got some strength 2 guys, we've got a big guy, we got some strength 4 guys. What roster is this going to be good for?
Oh, I think it would, an ogre roster would be great with this lot.
Yeah. Do you know what? I hadn't considered that.
I was just looking at it thinking, oh, those hippos and rhinos, oh, they would make fabulous ogres. And literally, like, they've gone stupid most of the time, but every once in a while, their hippo gets on the run.
The models are fantastic. We've done a preview video for it, where Galador shared the STLs, and naturally, I took the elephant and scaled it up to 120% and made it a giant. And the models are very cool. And the giant elephant was amazing. But the pre-supports are good. The pre-supports will support an upscale of 120% as well. It's a really cool thing. Now, it is heavily stylized, so this may not be the team for everybody. But quite frankly, £22 for a mixture of big guys is enough for me.
Yeah, and they are a great set of models. You look at the renders, they are really nice. And actually, if you just look at them from a pure modeling point of view, they're really well done. They're really detailed. Yes, they're not pure Blood Bowl miniatures, and they are not pretending to be that in any way at all. This is not a Games Workshop box set kind of copy, but it is lovely. And the thing I really think that's interesting, you look at the pledges, and there is the good old sort of Ultimate Team commercial license, and that's already got 14 backers. So this team is going to be available to buy on Etsy and get other people to print out for you. And I think that's a good sign when you see people doing that.
Yeah, the original team did brilliantly on Kickstarter. The physical models were superb. And now just being able to print them out, it's going to make it way more accessible and cheaper and easier for Galador. And I just think it's a really good mix of models. Like, yeah, it's stylized and you may not want it, but I'm actually thinking about upscaling a rhino to use as a Minotaur. Ooh. You know, he's rampaging. He's got the horn.
That definitely would work. Yeah, that would definitely work. And the monkeys are really they've got a really nice feel against. They look like a monkey playing Blood Bowl should look like, and it does feel like if you want to spend some time really doing a unique team and making it look good, it'll take 2 minutes at the start to explain to your opponent which models are which, but you're not going to have to do it more than once because they're going to go, yep, I know the monkey is an annoying little thing.
Yeah, the monkey is a goblin. Now, I think this set works almost 1-for-1 for Black Orc teams and for Lizardman teams. So you got the strength 4 pieces, you got the little guys, you've even got the 2 baboon runners who can be the chameleon skinks, and the monkey, not the monkey, the elephant's got the trunk there to be the prehensile tail. So it is cool, but there you go. And the great thing about 3D printing is you can scale stuff up, you can scale stuff down, and you could kind of blend it. And like you said, Trips, as long as you kind of explain at the beginning of a game who stuff is, or do what you tend to do with all of your stuff and print out little nameplates.
Well, I have a nameplate.
Then, you know,
the other team you could definitely is you probably take a bit of scaling to work it through, but a Chaos Renegades team, because you've got loads of different big guys and options in, and then you could use the baboons and the monkeys across there. Maybe pull in a miniature from somewhere else, but that's what a Renegades team is all about. It's odds and sods from other teams put together.
Yeah, with the hippos, you can kind of clone them as well. You could probably get an orc team out of this too.
Mhm.
Use the hippos as the Black Hawks, use the rhinos as blitzers, use the elephant as a troll, and use the baboon as a thrower, and the scale up the monkeys a bit to be your lineman.
Well, and as Milton would say, you're never taking the orc thrower anyway, so you don't need to worry about it.
There you go. You've got goblins. No, it's a really cool little thing. It's still got 9 days to go, so this one will be finishing on Sunday, November 20th. So as this pod goes out, you're going to have a week and a bit to back it if you want to. They've crushed their goal. So yeah, it's a good one. Good team, good STLs. And yeah, big fan of that one. The next one's interesting, and I'm looking forward to having a chat with you about this one, because we've not really seen much about it, I don't think, Trips. And that is the Dungeon Fantasy Football 3D printable, that's how it's worded, by Vortice Miniatures. Now, I love Vortice Miniatures. Their Khemri team's wicked. It's over there waiting to be painted. And their vampire team should be on the way soon, which is really exciting. But what they've done is they've produced some 3D printable files so that you can make a dungeon. So you can play Dungeon Bowl. And they've done a great job of having each of the rooms produced specifically to be the type of room. So you've got like the dragon's lair, you've got the crypts you've got the fiery chasm. So it's all basically the same as the actual tiles in the Dungeon Bowl set, which I thought was really cool. And they've got a really interesting way of making it too. So each room is its own tile essentially, but it's got a blank space around the edge so that you can clip the different wall pieces on, which I thought was really quite clever. You know, full disclosure, you know, we helped MG Pix, you know, do his. Like we got the chance to do the preview videos and printed it out. We featured, you know, we printed built an entire dungeon for the final of our Dungeon Bowl series. And it was, you know, done very differently, far more interchangeable. But I really do like the way they've done. Like, here you go, they've got the corridors. They've got those big plate corridors. What did you think about this, Trips?
I think it's a really clever design, and it'll aid those people that want to build a board and have it as a sort of solid stay together. It'd be really interesting to see how modular to sort of break up and put down and use it really is, because for a lot of people that's going to be an advantage of actually being able to pack it away and hide it in the cupboard and not say I've bought another Kickstarter and printed them all out.
Yeah, exactly. And that is sadly the thing that's hit me about this, that I'm not completely wooed by, is they've got a lot of great shots of the renders, but there's no information as to how the files come, which is really important when you're doing a 3D printing Kickstarter. I've got my Mars 2 Pro and now my Saturn 2, and the Saturn 2 has got a monstrous print size, but I don't think it would print an 8x4 room. In fact, I know it wouldn't, because the maximum I can print is 6 squares wide, 7 squares technically, but 6 squares wide is as wide as I would go along the long edge. So it's basically like 6x4 I could fit. So I could probably print a flat one of the corridor pieces, but because they've got that separate kind of gap around the edge there to be able to slide things in, I wouldn't be able to print it flat, which is absolutely fine. But my point is, we don't know if this comes in sections of 4. We don't know if it comes pre-supported. And like you said, Trips, we don't know if there's magnet add-ons and stuff like that.
Don't even know what printers it's been designed for. Is this design? Looking at the detail, it looks like it's designed for resin printing, but looking at the way it's done, you would hope that it could be done for FDM plastic printing.
Yeah, it doesn't actually say. It just says this campaign is for the digital STL files, which is a bit of a shame, because I want to get really excited about this because it looks awesome, but it is quite expensive to get in there. Well, not really, actually. I've been looking too big. So the basic one is £22, and this is where you get all of the rooms, all of the not all the walls, some of the walls, and all the other stuff. Actually, £22 is fine. Then there's the Legend one, which is where I want to be, because this one comes with all of the stuff that you've seen, plus my favourite thing about this entire thing let me scroll all the way down. They've done a great job with all the renders, which are the kind of faction specific walls.
Yeah.
So you've got, oh, we're still going. You've got Dragon's Cave walls, and then there's like Orc walls, Skaven walls, Dwarf themed walls, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. I really love that. But that is £44. And
44, yeah.
when we talk about STL stuff, Trips, I mean, for an STL team with all the positionals and a big guy, no star players, or maybe 1 or 2 star players, what would you expect to pay for an STL Blood Bowl team? 16 sculpts.
You'd be wanting not to pay more than about 35, probably, is the top end, and that's probably with everything and all the stretch goals and a million things that you'd be like, I will print one of those one day.
Yeah. For me, a team, £20. A team with a full whack of star players, £30, £35, and that's what you get from Brute Fun. That's what you get from 3 months of Punga. That's how it kind of fits. Now, I know that you've got a deep, dark history of backing STL Kickstarters.
Got to have a library full of stuff that you go, not printed that one yet.
I've got 0.5 terabyte hard drive on this laptop, and I realised yesterday that I had 5 gig left, and I was like, oh no. But it's okay. As I busted out the old separate one, the USB one, and started farming across my STLs. But £22 for a dungeon, love that. That's a good price point. £44 for the dungeon and all the rooms. I think 44 is a bit too much for me. 22 for the base set, I love. 44 is too much for the whole thing, though.
Especially when you get to the fact that to print a whole dungeon bowl pitch and the detail, you're talking £60-70 of materials.
Yeah.
And printers aren't the cheapest of things to run, although they are fabulous heating devices for those of you that have a printer close to you in your hobby space.
That is something I've noticed about the studio. Finally, Ben hooked me up with a monitor so that I could turn my old computer off and just kind of retire it to the corner. But now the room is way colder than it used to be. But no, you bang on the money, because we did the Dungeon Bowl board and it was probably about £50 worth of resin for all the tiles, all the doors, and some, but not all walls. That's really important. Our Dungeon Bowl board, and I'm going to say because we needed to film, but also because actually it is expensive. Like the dungeons that they've got here, assuming that they're 34mm scale, again, we don't have that detail, but I guess you can scale stuff up, can't you? Like that dungeon example A that they've got there, which looks absolutely gorgeous. That's 60 to 90 quid's worth of resin, isn't it, at least?
Yeah. And it's probably, I mean, you're looking at each room's floor is a print, each wall is a print, each door is a print. You're talking 3 weeks of highly organised running the printer pretty full time.
I'm still really proud of my my dungeon organisation spreadsheets where I had all my prints prepped, ready to go.
Yeah. Day by day, we're at 42% of the dungeon is printed.
Oh, it's so good. I tell you what, the Saturn II is much better for that. Printed out the Death Bowl pitch. It's like 3 prints. It's gorgeous.
It does make a difference when you can put a big print on and leave it for a while.
It's so good. Anyway, the sculpts are gorgeous. The wall connectivity, I love. I think it's brilliant. I think this is really, really, really cool, and I am going to back it, as I haven't backed it yet, and I really should have done. I really want the faction-specific walls, but I don't know if I want them £20 worth of walls.
And you're probably only going to print 2 factions. You're going to print a few Skaven ones, and then you'll print one other to put on the other side.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea of the walls, because it could be, and this is... This is a little spoiler into my little world, Trips. I'm looking for I want to print a street bowl pitch, But because of the way we film, I want to have a wall along one side, and when we do a sewer bowl sevens thing, I want to have a sewer walls along one side. So at the moment, I'm in a place where I'm looking for walls because they make really good backdrops. And I saw this and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, there's some dwarf walls, there's lizardman walls. They would look really good, like, you know, for team photos and stuff. Actually, I am going to back the whole thing. This is great. Yeah.
Talk yourself into it.
I have genuinely just oh no, I should have gone for the early bird. Anyway, I've missed out on that. Right, let's have a look and see how long they've got. Oh, okay. 3 days to go. So podcast goes out. This is finishing Monday the 14th, and they look about half their goal.
Not even halfway there yet.
Ooh, this could be interesting. Well, it looks cool. They've done a lot of good stuff there. There's not enough detail for me, I think, but I mean, we know what they do. We know they do good stuff.
I think that says a bit, because we are both heavy users of printers and have backed a lot of Kickstarters and maybe even used some of them. But
how are you going too far there?
I think you can tell then by it's only got 38 backers at this stage that maybe the price point isn't quite in the sweet spot.
Yeah. Estimated delivery December 2000. Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I like what they've done. I love the wall system. I think that's potentially really clever. Although, one thing we did find with the Dungeon Bowl stuff is that you've got to have a nice bit of space between the wall and the square, because Blood Bowl models are big.
Yeah, especially when you run that big guy into the corner to try and get that chest.
Which I think is what I'm going to claim is the reason that we didn't use walls everywhere in our dungeon.
And view lines.
Yeah. Interesting one. Well, I like to see, hey, it's a very cool thing. And I love the fact that they've geared it entirely towards Dungeon Bowl. So it'll be an interesting one. Hopefully that reaches the goal and we'll get some cool files for that. But this one is really nice, and I at the end of every year we have the Boney Awards, right? And then every year Ben's like, Punga team from 3 years ago was the best team of the year. Well,
it has become a bit of a meme in our group now. Oh, it's team of the year time. Ben will vote for Punga. It will be at one of the teams in the last 3 years he's either backed, printed, or is still waiting for.
Yeah, well, it counts because I painted it this year. Right. Black Sail Corsairs, Punga, have got a Kickstarter. Now, I hope that they're okay. I'm a bit worried about them because there's only 2 teams in this Kickstarter, unlike the 6 that was in the last one, which was absurd. Actually, we talked about it then, didn't we? We kind of said, look, actually 2 teams is probably the most, because there are people who are going to be able to afford to get 2 teams rather than 6 teams, unless you're Blood Tithe. Well, actually, I think you only got 4. Anyway, they've got a high elf team and a dark elf team. It is live now. It is closing on Monday, November the 28th. So good couple of weeks left to go. They've doubled their target already. Let's have a look at some of the models in the team.
Although pointing out, Ben, there is the pledge to get a 3rd team. If you want to, you can get these 2 and one of their previous teams if you have missed out.
I did see that. Now there are several different levels you can back. There's the Celestial Champions, which is the one I backed, which is the High Elf team, 2 blitzers, 2 throwers, 4 catchers, and 8 line elves. There's some retail ones. There's the Dark Elf one, which is £75. Same price, right? Same price, yeah, same price. So the Dark Elf team, 2 assassins, 2 witches, 2 runners, 4 blitzers, 6 line elves, which is awesome. And then there's £145. Now this is all early bird, so it'll be about £10 more, I think, for 2 teams, or $215 for 3 teams from this team. And then there's a whole bunch of add-ons. So it's not cheap. This is £75 for a team. Realistically, not with the early bird special, you're looking at £85 for a team plus postage. So you're on the way to £100 here, because you're going to want to add some of the star players. But we talk about this all the time. A Dark Elf team. How much is a Games Workshop team box at the moment? Trips, not from Entoyment. Like,
not from Entoyment. It's about £30, I think, retail now. It says, not knowing, having not bought one from Games Workshop for a while.
I know. I think I've only ever. Did I buy one from? I don't know. Might have.
31.50, I think. 31.50, £32 from Games Workshop.
If you wanted a Dark Elf team, you'd need 2 of those boxes, so that's £63. Then you'd need to pick up the Assassin separately, which is Forge World. So let's say that's another £400. So no, it's another.
And you'll need a lot of glue, because all those fiddly little fin things, you're going to lose at least half of the box over the floor somewhere.
I think we need to do a top 5 Friday of the top 5 worst teams to build. Because I think
Dark Elves, and we can slip one other team in there.
Well, there's a couple. Some of the undead bits were fiddly, like the little wing boots.
Yeah, they were like undead Dark Elves.
Yeah. Basically, all the little blooming back plates for the dwarf team. Anyway, just kind of grumbling about Games Workshop now, or some of their
Back
stuff.
to the Kickstarter.
Back to the awesome Kickstarter. So the first team we'll look at is the Black Sail Corsairs, which is their Dark Elf team, and this is Punga, right? They've got excellent ability to sculpt. They've got a lot of character in their stuff, and thematically, this is 100% inspired by the Warhammer Fantasy Battle Dark Elf Corsairs. They've got so much of the same style, which doesn't surprise me because Punga love pirates, right? So actually, they're Corsairs, and they're called the Corsairs. You've got the Drake skin. You've got the spiky hats. They look like excellently sculpted versions of the Games Workshop Corsairs, which is what I would want my Dark Elf team to look like, to be fair.
And I'm a big fan of Dark Elves. They were sort of my first team back in the day with Blood Bowl, and my first team when I got back into Blood Bowl a few years back. And you cannot look at that team and not go, that's a Dark Elf team.
Yeah. That's a Dark Elf team. That's a well-done Dark Elf team. I'll tell you what, it looks halfway between the Games Workshop team and I think it's the Willy Miniatures team that I think Rick's got.
Yeah.
They've kind of, which is, I mean, they're both really good teams, so that is a pretty strong credit. You've got the classic Dark Elf witch hair. It's just awesome. From a design point of view, the only thing I don't over the top love is that one of the blitzers, I think, has got a hook hand and a peg leg, but that's it. That's literally the only thing I can pick out of this entire thing. And there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 individual sculpts for $85, and you get a star player, but we'll come to that in a second. So blitzers look good. Yeah, one of the blitzers has got the peg leg.
Yeah, that's the mini everyone's gonna not print or not use and use it for something else. He
looks like a coach. He looks like the coach. The retired
My
coach.
favourite miniatures in this are the Assassins, and they make me want to have a Dark Elf team with Assassins in, because they just look like an assassin should look like for Blood Bowl.
They look so good. They've got the little skull face masks on. Punch blades, yeah, okay, yeah, they do.
I could see you want to line up against a stunty front line and go, let me show you what multiple block and stab is all about.
Yeah, that happened to me at Sand Bowl last year. Actually, Assassins are pretty good in the format. If you're going to a tournament and you're expecting to see a lot of hack phlegm and stuff like that, it's a really good way to take out hack phlegm. Just
stab.
Yeah, just a cheeky blitz stab. I mean, chainsaw's obviously better, but anyway, they've got some kind of rendered printed versions of the model, rendered painted versions, and they've got the actual physical version. I love them. The Dark Elf team looks really good, but even better, in my opinion, is High Elves. I'm a big High Elf guy. Like Warhammer Fantasy Battle was like, it was High Elves were my jam. Not loved them in Blood Bowl, but it feels like the last few months High Elves have just come back with a vengeance. Trips. Do you think that's because we're pending with Games Workshop?
I think it's definitely they're a team of legend that you're starting to see people play. Everyone, there's that sort of growing excitement of everyone going, please, let's just tweak the high elves and get them into the game properly. And we've gotten from really struggling to find sort of a good couple of teams to you can probably there's probably 4, 5, 6 options for high elves.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 2 great Prince ones recently, haven't we? With the Torchlight and Agni both dropping very good high elf teams in quick succession, and now Punga have come in with what I think is even better. So, but it's still right up there. Okay, so the team has got all your classic high elf vibe. You've got the diamonds, you've got the tall hats with the horse crest, and you've got Dragon Prince armor, you've got wings on the throwers, which I love, and you've got slightly less armored catchers, which just makes a lot of sense. This is just, well, Trips, like you said, you look at that and you know it's a Dark Elf team. You look at these guys and this is... this is an elite team.
This is an elite team. And also you look at it and go, you're going to be painting a little bit of armor trim with these guys because they're simple in terms of the detail.
Yeah.
Because it's the really nice high elf armor. So it's really there for a polished and tidy paint job, and they will look spectacular.
Yeah. A nice little bit of edge highlighting there, maybe, a bit of blue ink in the recesses of the armor to give you that kind of silver helm vibe. I love this. The high elf team is just absolutely wonderful. Like, I just love it. I know Games Workshop are going to land and mess it up, but we saw Punga react when they changed up the Norse team, and I don't know if they've done it for the Amazon team yet, but they had a Kickstarter out. They have updated it with the new positionals. It's going to be okay, which is so good to see because it just builds up that confidence. Oh, look at the painted versions. You've got that blue and the gold and the gems, and that is just Calador. Oh, man. I'm going to print some silver helms. I need to. This is brilliant.
Just give them a decent base, stick a nameplate on them, and everyone's going to be happy all day.
Now, this is the bit you were talking about, Trips. You can also add any team from previous projects, of which there are many, as an add-on. Any teams from previous projects come with a set of free stretch goals for only $85 each. So if you want that, I think the quintessential Punga team is probably their Khemri team, right? $85.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah,
you can chuck it on there as well. Now this has got a ton of add-ons as well, which is incredibly dangerous, and this is why I said your team's going to cost you 100 quid, because you will be wanting to add some of this with it. There's loads, and we're going to have a look at some of the ones they've shown already. So free for the early birds is the Kraken star player. Now a lot of these star players, if not all of them, no longer exist, but it is just a matter of time before Games Workshop bring them back or something like it. And the Kraken star player was based off, I think, Lokir Fellheart, which was a Corsair Lord with a fancy golden octopus face mask that grabs people and has tentacles. He was a wicked star player for the year I think we had him before the kind of reset. That's just such a cool star player model. Then we've got an Assassin star player. Then we've got a Doom star player who is there to represent, I believe, the old player Elijah Doom, who is also now gone. There's a weird naval doctor that is quite cool. Creepy face. Probably wouldn't bother adding that. There's Crude Blade star player, which is a big lineman star player. I can't remember the old ones now. There's a cool Manticore, which I thought was a really wicked add-on.
That's a lovely model. You'd want to find a reason to squeeze that onto the pitch, just to squeeze it onto the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. There's a crazy star player there, which is the kind of the man witch elf style star player. You've got Slayer Sisters. You can add 2 more of. You've got the Witch Queen, which is going to be your Trips. We just talked about her. What's her name?
Roxana.
Thank you very much, which is Roxana. I like this model. You've got a cool band, which I thought was brilliant, including a multi-armed drummer. Baffling, but I love it. You've got the
They're,
Swift
they're there
twins.
for the player who's going to go for best team and bring like the whole diorama and setup and detail. He'd be like, "What have you been on for the last 6 months?
Yeah.
Paint high elves."
Well, I've my life has calmed down enough in the last few days that I've been able to start printing, and I've started printing crowd miniatures. And I've been going through my STL collections looking for like random models as part of Kickstarters, random STLs with like people with instruments and bards. So actually this could go in a stadium quite nicely. But there is a Swift twin set that I actually really like. But this one here, Dragon Star Player, that is Prince Moranian. And I love it. He's just so regal. He's got his big cape. He's got his big dragon helm. It's so good. You got a Star Player kicker. Then there's the Blood Dancer. We've got some star players waiting to come back, haven't we? Really?
Oh yeah.
Because I've started.
Some of these star players are in that dangerous category where you look at them and go, "Yeah, I could get them to look like there's something else really easily."
Yeah, this
Just
guy.
ignore the pointy ears.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Blood Dancer star player. You could be your Eldril if you wanted. He's supposed to be Jordan Freshbreeze, or is it Freshbreeze? Jordan Freshbreeze.
Yeah,
God,
he'd make quite a good Ivar actually.
He's got the plats for it. Then you've got what has to be just an awesome homage to Helmut Wolf. What is wrong with me today? Oh, I can't remember any of my star player names. Which is wicked. A big ogre star player, another witch star player. Yeah, these must be from the older ones, I reckon. There's more a Night Hunter, which is for Zara. And they've got some stretch goals here, which look like tokens, and there's going to be some more stuff there when it gets to it. And I like the look of this. Witch Elf, Coach Assistant, Dark Elf Executioner, nice. Referee, Doctors, Mascots, High Elf Kickers. Oh, this is going to be cool. They've got a bunch of stuff that is going to be added. They've got their size comparisons with the wolf, with the Wolverine posed lineman. I love it. I love that star player model. This is just, it's been a while since we've had a real all singing, all dancing Kickstarter, isn't it?
I mean, the one thing we know about Punga is they do great Kickstarters, they do great miniatures, they do what they say they're going to do. If there's any problems with them, they sort it out. Everyone looks at the teams when the other people have got them and go, "Wow, they're great. Where did you get them from?" It's a Punga team. You cannot be unhappy when you get your Punga team through.
Yeah, it's bang on the money. Now, it is expensive, right? We always talk about third party teams and the fact that they are going to be between £70 and £80, and that means you can afford one of them, right? It's going to be your spending for a couple of months probably, but it's worth it. You can be like, yeah, you know what, I'll pick up that team. That's really nice. Like, that'll be a good Christmas present to myself. That'd be a good birthday present. The difficulty comes when it's like the double team. So I was looking at this and I was like, I want that high elf team. I like the dark elf team. I don't know if I can justify £150 for two teams. I can do, 80 for one, love it. 150 for two starts being a bit sweaty.
And what I like about what they've done here is, because they've run so many successful Kickstarters as well, they're shipping them from local regions, but more importantly, they have been mass printing these guys out, and they're very clear at the top. Some backers will receive their pledges within 1 to 2 months, and delivery time for everything will be 4 months. You're like, that's no longer waiting, going, I think I bought a Punga team and it might be here for the league after next.
That is such a game changer, right?
Yeah. I mean, we could expect to see some Punga teams at Beachhead.
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully one of them will be mine.
Yeah, and that's not just one of the Bens.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing to add in that can be considered slightly negative, although I actually think it's a very solid move forward, is the stretch goals. They're not they're not doing that thing that you see of a lot of Kickstarters, right, Trips, which is a case of and this and this and this and this, and then what happens is that because of all that stuff, there's a massive delay. Actually, what they've said is we're ready to go with this. These are the models. If you want the add-ons, you can pay. I mean, $8 for a really good Star Player model is 1/4 of a Forge World model. And you don't have to build it.
Individually, it's not too bad, but it is definitely one of those where you're going to click on it and you're going to go, I'll have one of those, and I'll have one of those, and I'll have one of those, and that number is going to add up a little bit when you get to the confirm page.
Yeah,
but also we've seen a lot of people, and we've seen people at our local club who've not bought one or two of the things, and everybody always goes, oh, I should have bought the extra lineman, or I should have brought the Star Player.
Yeah. The fact that the stuff you need is there. The Star Players are ready to go. You can pick them, you can choose them. It's a much more upfront way of doing it, and it's not that FOMO angle. So I think, you can go in on a Kickstarter sometimes and be like, oh, I'll go on the big level because then I'll net loads of stuff. Well, you're not going to need all that stuff. It's lovely to have, but it's going to stay in the box. Actually, I think I'd rather just choose my extra £10 of stuff. And I love it. Yeah, really huge fan of this. They've got 17 days to go. Finishes at the end of November, so November the 28th. And like Trip said, they've already started making the models. And this brings me to a question for you, Trips. This is obviously 3D printed, right?
Yeah.
So Grebo and Punga are both going the 3D printed, and I'm assuming in-house route. The pictures of the prints look crisp as you like.
Oh, they look so like...
Yeah, I know. They've used that fancy grey resin that Ben's always talking about.
Yeah.
Like, mine's just a matte grey. Like, it just looks like grey. That looks like elite grey. I mean, are we done with metal and resin?
I think we are. I think you pick up a miniature now. If you play someone and they've got metal miniatures, there's like, you can see people having like an allergic reaction to it. Now it's like, it's a metal miniature.
This is what I love about Buzz Justice, is because one of my Skaven Blitzers is a 2nd edition human Blitzer, and he weighs more than the rest of the team combined. It's really funny when someone knocks him down, because he just goes with a thud, and they're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's okay, he's older than I am, like, it's fine. Like, this is how metal that's real.
We're not far away from there being a generation of wargamers that don't know that everything used to come in lead and metal, and you weren't allowed to lick your miniatures.
Still not recommended. I mean, yeah, it's funny to think that 4 years ago, Ben picked up the Grebo Alastoran team on sale, which comes with a big old bloodthirster made of metal, and it gave him nightmares. And now, just a few years later, we're on the other side. You can kickstart a team. It's going to be printed for you. It's going to arrive. And, I did a video review of some of the Grebo Star Players, and I did the Boa Constrictor version. Amar the Mesmerist, the Mesmerist. And there's 2 pieces, and one of them's the face, right? Which is the head, which... That's it. That's the entire product. And I took him and I compared him to Boa. Boa was in 8 or 9 pieces, and some of those pieces were so small. We're talking like the size of a sesame seed. Yeah. And I just kind of held this Grebo thing, and I was like,
why? Why would you not do it? Yeah.
It's just phenomenal that we are now at this point, and we are in probably the golden era of modeling. It's pricey, but it's always been expensive. But, the Punga teams, they've not changed in price. Like, no. This is £75 for a team. I'm pretty sure the Pirates were £75 for a team.
They were pretty much always of that. And they are the gold standard in both in price, but more in terms of the delivery and outcome of what it is. So, absolutely there. Yeah. Buy a Pirates team now, it's $89 for a common small box.
Have they linked the old Kickstarters? Oh no.
No, they've linked back to their site.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. It's so accessible. I'm super impressed. Right, so as for other bits of Blood Bowl news, there is another Kickstarter coming soon. Well, there's a few Kickstarters coming soon. One is the Snoog Halflings from Grebo. Now, we've already done our preview video for that, so you can go and check that out. The Kickstarter's not going live yet, but I think it goes live in a couple of days or something. Ooh, my parcel from Entoyment is on its way and due to be delivered Friday, the 11th of November. Yay! And the other one to talk about, we'll have a nice review video filmed. I don't know when we're allowed to go live with it, which will be the Wire Games. It's Gaia, but Wire. So Wire Games, WLA Games, High Elves and Dark Elves in their new scale. So we've got those to look at as well. And I know they're going live with a Kickstarter soon. So it is all elf at the moment. And I love it. There's so much good stuff. But before we wrap up with the news segment, Trips, I've got one more question for you, then we'll talk about games, which is, will we see another Blood Bowl release this year? It's the 10th of November as we were recording. The window is small.
Yeah, I think we have passed the point where we will see another Blood Bowl team before Christmas, because the traditional route of the preview of the preview of the preview that is the pre-order window, there just aren't enough weekends left to get that in before Christmas, because realistically there's probably there's probably 6 weeks before Christmas. We're seeing the big army boxes and starter boxes be teased for Sigmar and Warhammer 40k. I think we might be at a February period.
I think you're right. So Saturday the 10th of December is probably the last release point before Christmas from Games Workshop. So they need to pre-order that on Saturday the 3rd of December, which means it would need to be previewed realistically a couple of weeks before that, which is now.
Yeah.
Which is now. I mean, last year they did the Warhammer Day and they showed Dungeon Bowl off, which was the 30th of October, and that was out by Christmas. But I think you're right, Trips. I think it would be a proper squeeze, which is a massive shame because, you know, we were hoping for another team, but I actually don't mind it because the Amazon release was quite a big one. You got some good toolkit star players and a team that's very different and very potent. So actually us having a good 4 months to play Amazons before the next new shiny comes along, I think is really good tempo.
Yeah.
And I've got an idea for printing my own team Amazons.
Ooh.
So, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I think that wraps up news. So let's move on to games and hobby. Okay, so we've done Blood Bowl news. Now we're going to talk about hobby and things. And it's been a good month since we've really had a chat about this. And I think there's quite a bit going on, which is cool. One of the first things I'd like to talk about, and I'm ready quite to show pictures of my work in progress yet, but hey, it's us, is the Mud and Blood did a bunch of cool pictures in STL files, and I fell in love with this one here, the Ancient Temple Jungle pitch. It's Amazon pitch / Lizardman pitch style. It's cracked. It's got cool steps. So I really like the look of that. Now, we are hoping to be able to play some December Death Bowl, and we needed a Death Bowl 7s pitch. So I took the files that got released to us and I cut them up and I remerged them and printed out a 7s Death Bowl pitch with this. Now I've still got to go to B&Q and get them to cut me some wood, and then I get to glue it all together and do the extra bits and then paint it up. But this is my current kind of, I've printed it, now all I've got to do is find a bit of time to glue it together, because this is all Mud and Blood's fault, because in that they said that they were going to produce, we haven't seen it yet, a Death Bowl pitch. Now a Death Bowl is 4-player Blood Bowl, and 4-player 11s as much as I love Blood Bowl, sounds horrible to me. But 4-player sevens,
Yeah.
that's where it's at.
Although, is there anything, if you said sevens in it, that you would go, nah, that's not for me?
No. Although I do think that Dungeon Bowl is better than Dungeon Bowl sevens.
Yes.
I filmed a game of Dungeon Bowl sevens with Rick, but it came out rubbish and I never ended up publishing it. But it wasn't as good. Now we've played some good games of 11s, we played some good games of 7s. I don't think Dungeon Bowl 7s is where it's at, but I do think that Death Bowl 7s with 4 players on a pitch that looks like this is where it's at, and that's kind of my first bit of thing that I've been working on. Trips, how about you?
So I've got 2 bits of hobby. So I've been continuing the printing of the sort of the Kill Team Necromunda tile, and I completed my first tile with my 2-tiered building and door that involved me bending printed plastic, which really freaked me out while doing it, but it came out beautifully.
They're
got some hazard ropes onto it. Yeah, and I was really pleased with that, and that's definitely the first of many tiles. And then I actually got some painting and got a Blood Bowl team on the paint board under no basis because I couldn't make the team that I wanted to for a tournament coming up at the end of the month, and desperately thought I needed to paint some miniatures.
That's right. You're going to be odd man in for Bonehead Bowl, aren't you?
I'm going to be odd man in, and came up with a roster idea without even considering the miniatures and the availability of them in my painted set.
Oh man, I love that. I hope you get to play, because Bonehead Bowl is such a unique, carnage-laden experience with all the mixed teams and stuff, and building a team for it is really special. And I hope that you get it to the pitch, Strips.
Yes, if not, it will be next year's Bonehead team.
Now we'll have to take the opportunity to bust out a few mixed team games next year. Just ad hoc stuff. I think I did find my whip picture of my pitch, including the Bonehead tile that I sculpted. I say sculpted. I put together in the middle there, which I'm quite excited by. I think this is going to be a really good, fun little project. And maybe we get mixed teams Death Bowl 7s. That could be the most, with wizards.
Yeah. And just to fill in, we should add in a secret team, and then Milton can bring the shark.
Oh yeah, his sharks. Yeah, because have you seen the secret team kind of redux they've been working on? Everything's different now. The ghosts are very different. I don't know if I like it.
I think there's only one way that we'll truly know. That's by playing a few of them and having a bit of a go.
I think we get by Christmas, see if we can't get a Bonehead Fumble League on the go.
We just need Games Workshop to not give us anything Blood Bowl for a while, which they seem to be pretty consistent to have.
Yeah, but they leave us with this over-looming anxiety, and I don't know, it's probably just me. Everybody else is probably fine about it, but every day I have this my last few weeks since the tournament work has been so hectic. It's coming to that point of the year where we kind of consider what projects are good to go, where we are with stuff, and what's going to be in the portfolio and stuff like that. So it's been really busy, and I've had to go to the head office. Normally I work from home and it's great, but I had to go to head office, and I get this pang of anxiety as I'm driving home. I'm like, please don't release news, because I'm 2 hours from my house. And they did this with the Norse team. I remember I was at a team day and I was driving home, and the chat started going off, and I was like, I can't read, I can't see what's going on. So I stopped at Fleet, because you have to stop at Fleet, and I was like, oh no, they dropped a Norse star player. And we even got comments on YouTube saying, not had a video about the star player yet. And I'm driving home It's national speed limit with the silly cameras, and it's 50, and I can't go anywhere. I just have to wait. Ever since that day, I've like carried my podcast equipment wherever I went, whether it's Italy, Tenerife. No, I didn't take it to Tenerife. Actually, I was good. Took the laptop. But yes, I think you're right. I think Games Workshop seem to be not giving us a huge amount of stuff, which is all right, I think. But you talked about printing off Kill Team and your Kill Team terrain. You guys have been playing some serious Kill Team games recently, haven't you?
Yeah, we this week at club we actually had Kill Team outnumbering Blood Bowl in terms of playing. We're at Wobble, we have reached the end of the summer season, and there's a small pause to give us all time to lick our wounds and work out what team we want to bring for January. So yeah, I think 3 or 4 people accidentally got the recruit box set from various hobby stores over the last few days. Yeah, we gave it a go, and it's a really fun little skirmish game. It's simple enough to pick up and play pretty quickly. Looks like there's a lot of depth in it, and yeah, it's quite good fun. And yeah, getting past the fact that numbers are random shapes it proves reasonably easy after about 10 minutes.
That's such a dumb design situation. Absolutely baffling.
The thing that's really is the fact that there are no turns, because there are turning points. And I think there is going to be a club rule that the first person that says that's the end of the turning point will get a slap, and we'll have to go and stand in the ring.
No, I've been eyeing up these files, which is like, so the Games Workshop Kill Team stuff recently was like set in a spaceship, basically, right? Set in a space hulk, yeah. I think.
Yes, it's basically Space Hulk, and there are some specific like corridor and breaching rules.
And I love the look of the terrain, and happened across this set of STL terrain for $4. So I've purchased this, and I'm kind of waiting for a little break in the busyness schedule for hobby and everything to kind of just print a little bit of the terrain, because it's just such a cool aesthetic.
Yeah. And the nice thing about walls like that is actually a couple of coats of spray and a tiny little dry brush, and it is done and very playable very quickly. And you can spend a lot of time getting it really, really good. But yeah, you can really rattle out, literally with some route cans, some stuff very quickly.
Yeah, you've been crushing it with the Necromunda and Kill Team stuff. It's just so tempting. But yeah, I've yet to be pulled in, because I don't think I have the time at the moment. And with Christmas flipping barreling towards us, you know, we're gonna be mooching into the next Blood Bowl league before we know it. Which, you know what, I'm fine with. I'm really fine with. I'm tempted to run Amazons in the next league, as kind of like a learning experience to see how good the team is and how it develops.
Yeah,
I'm loving running.
See
Skaven.
How much we all hate the strength 4 player.
Yeah, there is a bit of an allure to that. And I love the movement 7 piece is really exciting. So watching Ben at SCA run it in a game, watching him run it against you, Chameleon Skink for the win.
Yes,
and watching him run it against Nurgle, that little combo of hit and run is something that I really want to experience, because it kind of makes it a movement 8 piece with a free dodge, and that as a bit of an edge coach, that does, I find it quite interesting. So
yeah, there's definitely a move the piece where you didn't really think, and probably where your opponent didn't think they were going to go either.
Yeah, well, I find really interesting. Now, I back Artisan Guild every month on Patreon or Tribes, one of the two. They always release a cool little set of models with a couple of units and some stuff that I will never use in a war game kind of way, but actually they've got sorry, I've just had a brilliant text from Tiff. I'll tell you in a sec. They've got modular hands, but the hands are ball and socket joints. Yeah. So there's open hands, so you can have any model can be a lineman. I've used the ogres. I've everything. Right, Artisan Guild is just a brilliant place to go.
There's some stunning models they do. Yeah,
Absolutely love them. And because you just kind of support them every now and again, they do a release, and you look at it and you're like, that I have no use for that for Blood Bowl, but they've got some cool characters and that'll be fun, and I'll come back to them at some point. And I was mooching through because we've got to the point now where, well, my work's calmed down enough that I can actually print things again. Because the last 2 weeks, I just haven't. It's been work, sleep, maybe film a couple of videos, sleep.
Yeah.
It's been kind of like that. Where yesterday or the day before, I was like, oh, you know what? I've got half an hour. This is lush. I'm going to look through and start printing some crowd minis for our stadium. So I started going through Artisan Guild because I was like, you know what? What a great way to do it. Like, print off 6 different guys with hands, use the stuff that works. They're all just going in the crowd anyway. And I happened across this unit and I was like, oh, these are like demon, like half demon people. And I saw these models and I was like, oh, that would be great on Blood Bowl. Like, they would get some linemen there as a dark elf team. And then I thought, oh, you know what? This could be the Amazon team. So I've prepped my plate. I've got, this is going to be my blitzers because they look agile. This pose scaled up to 120% is going to be the big bulky strength 4 scaries.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then you've got a few different poses for line people, and there's this one agile looking pose, this one here for the thrower.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, this is going to be great. It's nice and easy to see who's who. I've taken an STL ball and merged it with a hand that's holding it so that the thrower's got the ball. Job done. The big piece is the blocker. Yeah. The one flying in the air is the fast one. Yeah. Everybody else is just an absolute moggle. So I'm thinking my way of doing it because I like the way the Amazon team, the roster is. The Games Workshop team is cool. It's just it doesn't gel right with me. Like the blockers,
it's good, not great.
Yeah, exactly. Right, it's fine, no worries at all. And painted up, it looks really lovely. I can't paint brilliantly. I can paint fine. So if you get a fine looking team that's painted fine, I could paint a cool team to a fine level and have it be something different. Plus I get to upscale I'm not gonna lie, man, it's mostly just because I want blockers that don't look tiny. So I was looking through it, I was like, oh yeah, Amazon team with 2 of these guys like scaled up, brilliant, like that's enough for me. And then I thought, oh, why not just print the entire team? I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So that's going to be one of my projects in a bit, because they've got these cool alternate masks as well, and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. So my positionals are going to have the masks, and the linemen are just going to have the bare heads as a way to kind of differentiate.
Yeah,
it could be fun. So I can use that as my Amazon team.
Yeah, they would definitely work, and they'd be an interestingly team to run, because there will be a bit of death, a bit of skilling up. I'd like to see what a skilled up Amazon team look like from the sideline.
Don't worry, you can take Griff. Tiff's just I keep telling her that she needs to read one of like the choose your own adventure books. So she's downstairs. So I made the bed and put one of her little squishmallows in the bed reading the Jackson book, and she's just sent me a picture of it, which I thought was brilliant. Anyway, but yeah, so printing wise, I'm printing the crowd. Now, Graham Pickett has already given us one piece of painted dwarf and is in the stadium, which is wicked. And now I'm just going through Artisan Guild, all of my library, to kind of find players, Blood Bowl players, like Punga pieces, the Torchlight guys, just players that look like they could go and be in the crowd. I'm going through Artisan Guild and using all the hands and just to make standard crowd pieces. And I'm really excited about that, because that means for the next few months, I can just print models that I would never have printed off before, which I'm super excited about, because
that's so much part of the hobby, isn't it? It's we've seen a few people do, when you get the idea and you see you want to do it, just go ahead and do it. It's fun. It's great.
Because I've had this in my library for a little while as well, and I think some of these skeletons would be great in the crowd. You know, they've got that.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Like skeletons with open hands. I think there's that one in particular just pointing into the crowd or something. There's a ton of great stuff, and I'm excited about doing that. But I do have one other project that is on the plate that is very Blood Bowl related. That is going to be very divisive, Trips, and I've not told anybody about this yet.
Ooh.
Tiff, my wife, she's an awesome woman. She said the other day, she was like, I don't really like the aesthetic of Blood Bowl, but if I had a Pokemon team, I think I'd like to learn the rules again. So,
To which you instantly went off and searched for a Pokemon football team.
Actually, I went a different route. I thought she was just being lovely, and I think we'd had a bottle of wine. So I kind of was like, oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah, absolutely. That's great, sweetheart. Thank you so much. And I left it a few days, and then she brought it up again. So yes, now I'm printing a Pokemon team. So I've had three models printed this afternoon as a scale test to see if they suit her liking. And then yes, I will have my first Pokemon Blood Bowl team. Because there's been quite a few of them in the community recently. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, only on really boring calls. And you know, it's cool to see like the odd Pokemon team. I think. What's your view on alternative models, Trips, for teams?
So my view is it should be a very simple, as long as you can tell what the miniatures are, and it doesn't then distract from being able to play the game and you don't have a gotcha moment. I really don't mind, because it's people's own hobby, fun and detail. And particularly in this example, if it's a different style of team, but it means there is one more Blood Bowl player in the world, why is that not a good thing?
I agree. I agree completely. Now, Ben, this is it. Well, Ben, I'm sure will want to pick this up when he gets back. I won't say hates, but he's less keen because for him, the visuals, the aesthetic of the game is really important.
But his painting level is probably like both yours, mine, and about 3 other people's put on top of it.
Yeah. Blast him. But no, that's cool. So I'm printing out a Jigglypuff themed Pokemon team at the moment so that Tiff and I can play some sevens together. And yeah, because she's like, well, you know, you do so much Blood Bowl, I don't really understand it. And she's like, I'd like to have another go, because the only time we've ever played was when was on our first trip to Tenerife, I think. I took the sevens pitch and a couple of Blood Bowl teams and started a game. So yeah, I'll be having some Jigglypuff Pokemon shenanigans, which was going to be really interesting. But that's really all I've had time to do recently.
Well, it's a bit of hobby time, and we know we'll be spending a little bit of time on tournament prep in a couple of weeks' time, and then a bit of a break, and then hopefully you never know what turns up in Christmas wrapping paper for us to then glue our fingers together in the afternoon with a drink. Yeah,
I've got a non-Blood Bowl related package arriving on Friday from Entoyment, apparently, so that's good.
Ooh.
I know. I don't know. I was just yesterday at work. Something very unexpected happened, where this project that I fully expected to be kiboshed actually went ahead, and I had this weird little malaise at the end of it where I tried to explain it to Tiff. I was like, when you're supposed to be going out with some friends, and then the friends say they're not sure if they can make it. So you're kind of like, they're like, well, we'll try and be there. We're not sure yet. We're not sure if we're going to be able to do it in the end. And you kind of console yourself, and then you kind of like, right, well, that's okay. I'm not going out. Do you know what? That's cool. I can chill, watch some TV. It's going to be really nice. And then they turn up, and you're like, oh, we are doing this. So
and you're like, oh yeah.
I kind of come to terms and was looking forward to not doing that thing now. So I got a bit depressed and ordered some ships, some Mantic Armada high elf ships, because I was just like, because I eyed them up when I was in Entoyment on Monday. I was looking at them and I was like, oh, they are cool. And then yesterday I was like, nah, No, let's get some. Let's get some ships. So
It is so bad for those that have never had the joy of going into entoyment. It is the worst place for impulse control because you literally go in there and A, everything is there, and B, you just look at it and go, "Ooh, but I could." And then before you know it, it's in your basket, and before you know it, it's arriving on Friday.
that's right. Oh, it's out of stock. I got the last one. So I'm going to have some high elf boats to paint that I will probably
Ooh.
never paint, never use, but I just wanted something shiny.
They'd make a great backdrop for a high elf Blood Bowl team.
Well, it's apparently high elf season again, which is very
Yeah,
exciting. But yeah, that's it for me in the way of hobby. Any other hobby bits for you, Trips?
I think no other hobby. Lots of ideas, lots of thoughts, but yeah, just not a lot of time. Damn the damn real world getting in the way at the
I
moment.
know, it does, doesn't it? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to dive into the Entoyment League. So, Entoyment is our friendly local gaming store, or at least it's very local to Triplo.
Definitely my friendly local gaming store. I can walk to it,
And it's
or as it now is, I am the click and collect for the Wobble Club.
yes, yeah, you are. Actually, last week, was it last week? Over the weekend, I started chuckling to myself, and Tiff was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, Ian Warhammer's considering some kill team," and Triplo's immediately bounced up saying, "Yeah, I'll grab that for you and deliver it." And then about 45 minutes later, or maybe the next day, Ian was like, "Yeah, I've ordered them, Ian, if you could pick it up." And
Yeah,
it was just coming up on my home screen, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. I was like, "Wow, that's enablement." But Entoyment is just an outrageously nice shop, and I love the crew, and we have tournaments there, and it's such a great place that they've started a Blood Bowl league. As to the inaugural season, it's being run by John, who's doing an awesome job, who took Corn to SCA and did very well. I think he was maybe fourth or something in the end.
yeah, did very well across the 2 days. I think it had one really bad game, and other than that, it went pretty well.
Running a really interesting Chocobo team, like the chicken people from Final Fantasy. Talking of alternate teams, I thought it was wicked. But yeah, I mean, it's they're doing it in a slightly different format, aren't they, Trips?
Yes. So the format of the league is we've got. I think it's. I can't remember exactly how many players. I think it's something like 12 players in total. We're split into two divisions.
16.
16 players, maybe. Yeah. Split into two divisions, and we're playing 11s within the league. And then at round 3, a small curveball thrown in for a bit of fun. There is a Sevens Cup within the league, where at the start of every cup round, which is knockout, you have to pick a sevens team from within your 11s team. So round sort of 2, 3, that wasn't too hard for people because there wasn't too much skilling up and detail. But going forward, that could be a mainly lineman team for a few players as their positionals price themselves out of sevens.
Yeah. So we got this round. It's a round robin group situation. I'm not sure how the finals are going to be played out. We'll find out in a few months' time. And John's doing it in a really good way because Entoyment's kind of a hub. It's 3 weeks for each round, which is brilliant. It gives you plenty of time to kind of not rush your life. I really like this. It's plenty of time to be able to book that round robin game in, and that's been really good because it's an hour's drive for me, which is fine most of the time, except for when I played against Joe solo, and it took me 2 hours 15 minutes to get there because there was a big car crash on the A31. And that's all cool. But yeah, we've got this knockout mini sevens tournament within it as well with the same teams. So if you're one and done, if you lose, you're out. Otherwise, it's just going to tick over. I think from the sounds of it, one sevens game every 2 11s round. I think
Yeah,
is
something like that. There was definitely a little bit this time of, do I play my sevens game before my 11s game? And in reality, there's no tactics to it in any tool because it comes down to when you can get your game in.
yeah, and that's what made me think actually we should spend a bit of time talking about where we are with our leagues, because this Monday I rocked up and I played a sevens game against Adam, and then I played my 11s game against Adam Pike, and I thought actually, you know what? We've kind of had to rush our game sections a little bit recently, and we've played. I just want to talk about how the league's going. I want to talk about playing Blood Bowl because it's lovely to actually play some Blood Bowl in a league environment. So, Trips, in the Entoyment League, what are you running?
So I am running High Elves in the Entoyment League. So I did a 3D printed High Elf team, a good excuse to get them out. And first time I've played with High Elves, and first time for a while I've played with a team that were mainly ad space and couldn't take Griff. And as every opponent who plays me is always consistently surprised, High Elves, of course, do not come with any pre-built dodge into them at all. So every question is, oh, does this one have dodge? No. Still, that one doesn't have dodge. He's on the ground.
It does now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you go with the Agni team in the end?
I did go with the Agni team, and they are lovely miniatures.
I do like that team. The Agni team is really good.
Yeah, I went for a sort of a blue, cool blue undercoat, then with a white armor and gold trim on the top, and they've come out really nicely, and I've really enjoyed playing with them, and the players are, you can easily tell them on the pitch.
Yeah. Okay, so what was your starting roster with your elves? Do you remember
so starting roster was the 2 blitzers, a thrower, 2 catchers, and then the rest of the roster was filled out with linemen.
2 rerolls, I'm assuming?
Just 2 rerolls. I have just purchased the 3rd reroll thanks to stacking up some winnings over the last couple of games. So yeah, went for the 2 reroll, started off, and the main thing I really wanted to do was pass, and pass more. So it was all about get the ball to the thrower. Let's use the inbuilt pass and catch rerolls, and let's keep the fun rolling. And it's not been going too badly. I think I've had 1 lineman miss a game, another then lineman got a stat down, but it was a passing stat down, which is not anything at all to worry about. And I'm slowly picking up players and skills.
So the way that the groups are formed, there's 8 teams in each group, and it's going to be 7 games across round robin. So a pretty short league, right? So it got to the point where it was like, oh, the league starts soon. Should probably pick a team. Now I looked at my collection of mostly painted teams, and I thought, you know what, I've just been knocked out of the Wobble finals with my Black Orcs against Underworld, and gutter runners, gutter runners. So I went and busted out the Neverbane Nightmares. Now I'm in a different group to Trips, so I'm not going to play them until the finals, obviously.
Until the finals, we'll wobble off in the finals.
Yeah, wobble teams represent. So I brought Skaven. Now Ben ran Skaven in the Bonehead League, in the Wobble League, and got to the finals with it. But he went with the Roger start, Roger and 2 gutters. I went with the classic pen build, which is 2 blitzers, a thrower, 4 gutter runners, just enough linemen, 3 rerolls. Went straight in, picked up the apothecary after the first game. I maxed out my dedicated fans to just keep generating that cash, which I wholeheartedly recommend. It's been brilliant for me. And I've just picked up the Rat Ogre as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 players. Yeah, Rat Ogre is the first player I've picked up so far. Otherwise, I just bought the apothecary. I feel like one of my blitzers might have died or something. I don't know. But it's been all right. Let me just check. Injury, badly hurt.
Yeah, you've got blitzer with a number 12. You've got no number 1.
Well, number 12 is That's Buzz Justice. Buzz Justice is
That's his
always number
number.
12. He's got number 12 on his base. He will always be number 12. I love Buzz Justice. But yeah, so I thought, actually, you know what, we're going to have a league of 7 games. Kind of want a team that's going to do well as quickly. And actually, Skaven are one of the teams that perform best in lower TV. So 1,200 points, Skaven start being really, really potent. Other teams catch up as it gets to 1,350, 1,400 when they start getting free tackle, mighty blow pieces. But...
And what we saw with Ben in the Wobble League is, especially when you start to come up against TV teams a little bit higher, Skaven will be playing with inducements and a few players missing each game due to various wounds, injuries, or massive stat downs in his case.
Yeah. Now, I've been reasonably lucky, although you can see I've got a few niggling injuries from guys here. My second blitzer always dies. He just always gets brutally taken out. But it's been going all right so far. And this sevens situation was a really interesting... It was a surprise. John was like, does anyone fancy it? I was like, yeah, well, you know, like Trip said earlier in the episode.
It had sevens.
yeah, you had me at sevens, which is interesting because 7 is actually my most hated number. The number 49 is a number that upsets me. Because I've had a very blessed childhood, but I have never forgiven my dad for this. I was there with the little cubes you stick together. I was very young, maybe 4 or something. You got the little cubes to do the maths with, and I could not figure out what 7 times 7 was. And I went to him and I was like, I cannot figure this out. Tell me what 7 times 7 was, which is obviously, what is it, 40, 42?
49.
40 is 49, I thought, yeah. And he wouldn't tell me. And I'm now 34 years old and I still haven't forgiven him for it. But yes.
Still scarred.
Yeah. Number 7. But despite that, it's the best way to play Blood Bowl. So it was an interesting little mix-in, and it came at a really great time because it counts as a game. And the way it's working in tour play is that you run your proper 11s team, but you only deploy in the game on the pitch with your opponent 600k's worth of stuff, which is great because it means that actually those guys who are missed next game, it's the next game. So I went into that match with my blitzer and a gutter runner, both mixed next game. Doesn't matter in 7s because you can only take 4 positionals anyway. So I managed to start round 3 of the 11s tournament after playing round 1 of the 7s tournament with my missed next games back, which I thought was a really great thing. And I think you mentioned this earlier, Trips, when you were like, well, you've got to kind of figure out when to play your 7s game versus when to play your 11s game. And I tell you what, I loved it. I thought it was going to be a bit like my initial reaction. I don't know how you feel about this. Was because it's a knockout competition. I kind of thought, there's going to be some teams there that actually just get to play an extra 2 or 3 games of 7s and net the SPP.
Wait, whoever gets to the final is effectively going to end up playing, I think, was it 4 or 5 games? Yeah. So they're going to get 4 or 5 games of SPPs. Yes, 7s, you're not going to stack up a load, but you're going to stack up 4 games of winnings, and that is all the positionals that have died playing 7s.
Yeah, but it came to that team management element of like, right, who do I go with? That I thought was a gorgeous addition to it. Now, I think for something like this with 7s, then actually maybe everybody getting the same amount of 7s games is probably the right way to do it for that SPP reason. But dude, being able to manage your team and take those pieces, so good.
I had to think it through, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to buy a catcher to play him in 7s because I can't afford to take the catcher with the skill up in 7s.
And the way it's being done, the way John set it up is you choose up to 4 positionals from your roster, and that's kind of, it's still 600k. You can still take up to 4 positionals. There's no re-rolls, but you kind of have to manage it within your costs, which is brilliant. It does bring into question, well, what if I don't have enough linemen, etc., which is always going to be challenging. But actually, I think I love 7s even more, and it was so good being able to take my guys, my league guys who I've been through 2 league games with, and take them into that 7s game. And Buzz Justice got to arrive with tackle and just be like, I'm going to be useful. I got my tackle guy there. I took a block gutter runner. I took an accurate thrower. And I was like, yeah, let's just go have some fun with sevens with my guys, knowing that I'm going to get some SPP and I'm going to get my players back. I loved it.
And it's really good. I mean, the fun as well is it's sevens, and sevens is fun.
And I think when it comes back to wobble trips, we should have a sevens week, or a sevens game, or 2 sevens game on a night, or something like this, because actually it's a really great way to take a short league environment like this one, add in more ways to heal, get cash, and get experience for your team. And I think it is a absolutely brilliant boost.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying
really
that
worked well.
But
yes, well, I was going to say we're both probably fans of it, and we both have a second sevens game to be scheduled.
Yeah. Anyway, it's we've just finished up round 3 and the first round of the sevens tournament in Toyman. How's your team doing at the moment, Trips?
So I am 2-1 in the 11s. Won my first 2 games. Had Black Orcs and then Ogres, 2 matchups which I didn't look forward to with High Elves, but managed to run away enough and eventually score in both of those to get the wins. And then this week I had a Skaven matchup, and I really struggled to get the gutter runners down, and I did not get quite as much Skavens off the pitch as I wanted to, and ended up with a 2-2. So I go end of round 3. I've scored quite a lot. My thrower is he'd be the best thrower in the league if there wasn't another mad throwing Skaven coach in the other. I'm very lucky. I've not lost a player to death or detail, and I'm really got some nice skill ups there at all. So I've got, as you can see, I've got two blodgers for my blitzers. One's got tackle as well, which he's very much happy with now.
That's a really solid build.
Yeah, I like that. The thrower's got accurate, so he will literally be throwing everywhere. And then I've gone block route with the catchers.
Yeah, that's interesting. I when you mentioned it earlier, I assumed it was a typo. So you've gone block on the elf catchers
I've gone block
instead of dodge.
Yeah, well, mainly because of what else is in the league, and particularly what else is in my half of the league. So I've got orcs and humans and underworld to come, and I think necromantic as well. So
yeah,
I'm going to get punched some more, and I've already seen it. Actually, the high elves giving the thrower the ball, passing it to the catcher, and having the catcher with the ball, but being able to take a punch or 2 is not the worst thing in the world.
They're strength 3, aren't
very
they?
useful. They're very useful defensively then.
Well, at strength 3, they're just armor busted blitzers with 1+ movement. Yeah. That's really fair, actually. That is really fair. And with Edge 2+, now you've got 3 integral rerolls. That dodge, although a great next skill for them, is going to help them keep them alive. You don't need it for mobility. Yeah,
I didn't need it first off, and I really wanted it, and as well the 7 aspect does come in as well. My blitzers are now 120 and 140k. They have priced themselves out of round 2 of the 7s. I might be able to squeeze one of the catchers, if not 2 of the catchers, with block in. So actually, that will give me a blitzing catcher for 7s.
Yeah, that's really good. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 blitzers basically now for the roster, which is really good, really fun. I like that. So my end of the league are Skaven me. We got Lizards, Dark Elves, Norse, Tomb Kings, Necro, Nobility, and another Skaven team. I've played Dark Elves. My first game was against Dan. Maskell Gerger, who always runs Dark Elves in tournaments. So I remember getting drawn against him and thinking, I've seen Dan play Dark Elves. He's very good.
Yeah.
He came second by a point in one of our, I think, November with flipping Dark Elves. But had a heck of a first game against him. Went up, got a nice couple of defensive scores. Went up 3-1 and then he conceded a second one, so managed to swing a win against Dark Elves. And then round 2, my match was against Joe Solo, who is a absolute Bonehead tournament regular as well, with Tomb Kings, the aforementioned Punga Tomb Kings, and everything went my way from a dice point of view. And it was a 3-0. He took 12 block dice against one of my blocking, well, against my only blocking gutter runner, and the gutter runner was fine. And I think that was the turning point for him, was just like, this is a joke now. I can't even take out a strength 2 piece with 2. I think he lined up basically a blitzer, 2 tomb guardians, and a random skeleton lineman, and just went 3 die block, 3 die block, 3 die block, 3 die block, and the guy was still standing at the end of it. And then I think managed to get a cheeky little TD there. I cage dived repeatedly against him as well. On the sideline, just took a 5+ with a reroll and pulled it off, and then two die up, pushed his guy off the pitch, stole the ball. Got really lucky with that, and I got really lucky with the way casualties fell as well, because I don't think it was too bad. I mean, he was fouling the heck out of me. I think I had a couple of like maybe missed next game.
Couple of nigglings, and again, those are the players you missed for your sevens game, so worked out reasonably well.
Yeah, got lucky in that one. And then the sevens game was brilliant. So this was against Adam Taylor, and Adam's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I haven't played Blood Bowl really since, I think he said, 2nd edition, which is the old polystyrene one.
I had Adam in my first game with his Black Orcs, and good, really good fun player, and he's you can see him learning literally every turn. He's like, we figured that one out now.
It was so good. I mean, Black Orcs are really, I love them. I've just played the Black Mountain Buccaneers in the Wobble League, so it was great to play against Black Orcs in sevens as well. And again, I just scavened. I just took the blocks that I got and picked on the goblins, which you can do in sevens. But by this point, Buzz Justice had tackle, so he had a heck of a game against goblins and ended up cutting off 3 casualties, I think, in that game. Buzz Justice casualty, Buzz Justice casualty, Buzz Justice casualty. So just took out goblin, and the thrower went to town and got a bunch of completions as well. It was a it was a great game. I swung it 2-0, and then got my guys back and lined them up against my round 3 player. Where's my fixtures? Here we go. Which was Adam Pike. Now, this is a bit of a who's who of the Bonehead tournaments, and every one of my opponents so far, I've kind of gone, oh my god, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna get murdered. You know, Gerger knows his Dark Elves and nothing else. Joe is so good with Tomb Kings, and then Adam Pike notoriously won the Dirty Player Award in one game at Beachhead, was it?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and South Coast Summer. He was. Yeah. He pretty much could. We could rename the award the Adam, and everyone would know who we're talking about.
I think we might have to do that. The Pike Prize. That's what we'll call it next year. I haven't put together the rule book for Beachhead, but I think it's going to be the Pike Prize moving forward. Just absolutely amazing. And we had a good bit of banter in the WhatsApp group as well. And I was like, oh no, the foul, the fouls. And he was like, yep, that's what I'm going to do against you. He didn't foul as much as he could. This was a heck of a game. So I bought the Rat Ogre going into this, thinking, right, actually, Rat Ogre is going to take some attacks, and it's going to help protect the rest of my other players. And the Rat Ogre is quite a useful piece. Well, it gave him 150k of inducements, basically, to which he took Bryce the Slice. And Bryce's special power is that once per half, when he blitzes with a chainsaw, he gets +4 instead of +3. So turn 1, Adam chooses to receive, and then immediately Bryce just minces up to the Roger and nukes him off. Just badly hurt casualties him on turn 1, and then just piled the Rose. Absolutely wrecked my team in the first 3 turns. I think I had 5 players out, a couple of casualties, and a couple of KOs. And I managed to do some gutter runny stuff and, made a couple of risky plays on the ball. By this point, I've got a couple of I've got 1 block and 1 wrestle gutters, so I'm very happy taking the 2 die up, okay, because against a skillless player, he had a ghoul with the ball, so I kept trying it. He had a werewolf with the ball actually at this point, and I was like, well, I'll just take the 2 die up, it might be all right. Skull push, glory reroll it, skull push, he went down. Tried it with another guy, happened again, but I kept applying pressure to the ball, so Adam ended up taking a rush for the touchdown and double won it.
Ooh.
And because the way my gutters had just been punched and spread around the pitch, I was able to just kind of mooch one over, grab the ball, hoon it down the pitch to the other guy, just a handoff, and scarp her off for a defensive touchdown. And then he scored, and then I scored, and then he scored, and then I scored, and then it came to a turn 7 kickoff. He had 7 and 8. I had just turned 8, and the kick just took him out of contention. He set up for a fast heavy flank on one side. The ball bounced and landed on the line of scrimmage on the other side. And with Necro, you don't have a lot of that. The Wolves are great, but you can't bounce from one side to the other. So that was basically it. And I scored that 3-2. But I had an absolutely horrific moment where I'm lining up for the kickoff, and he just sets up in chevron defense, and I'm looking at this, and he was like, "Yep, I saw this on the channel." And I was looking at it, I was like, "Oh, this is horrific. I can't break through because you put your werewolves and your golem in just the right point." I was like, "I can't do this with my guys. Like, if I have to do it, I'm going to leave a guy on the side." It was beautiful. It was like a real comeuppance.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, no. I looked at this from the channel. I was like, oh damn. But yeah, managed to squeak that one out a win. And the Never Bay Nightmares are doing very well. So top of my group at the moment with 16 points.
Yeah.
The scoring's a bit weird. You've got 2 wins and a draw, and you're second behind 2 draws and a win.
Yeah, it's because you get points for up to 3 casualties, up to 3 touchdowns, as well. So scoring and being violent, or one of the others, helps as well.
Yeah, that must be where I've got my extra points. I've managed to score 3 TDs in each of the 11's games so far, which is doing well. But anyway, I mean, we've still got 4 rounds to go. I've got Lizardman, which is a bad matchup for Skaven, which prompted me to talk to kind of want to talk bad matchups with you, which we'll do in a second. Lizards, Norse from Drew. Drew knows how to play Norse.
Does know how to play his Norse, yeah.
And Jack's running Imperial Nobility, which is going to be aggravating against the Roger with his Frenzy, and another Skaven team, which is going to be fun. So it should be a bit of a shootout there. It's a tough group. Both of these groups are really tough because it's a short league. I think everyone kind of thought, well, Tier 1 might be the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a bit of fun. And pop on over to the honours tab, because for those who say passing is dead, it's interesting. I find this interesting in looking at leagues. Passing is not dead in this league, but it is you and me knocking it out at 9 and 8 completions. And we've mentioned him before, but we do have to just look across there to most dirty play, and Adam is somewhat leading the league with 32 fouls so far.
I think he only took 8 against me. But just incredible. I'm coming after you with those completion strips.
Yes, yeah.
You're there at the top with most valued at the moment, though. 1280.
Yeah.
I'm just behind you at 1245.
Yeah, they're starting to see that gap in TV spread a little bit. So we've seen a little bit of inducements in sort of round 2 into round 3, but I think round 4 we're definitely going to see some stars coming out.
Yeah, I'm sitting at 140k in the bank. I've got 3 rerolls. I'm not inclined to pick up a 4th reroll. I might actually just pick up a couple of extra linemen. I know it's going to inflate my TV, but I feel like as long as I've got extra guys to chuck on the line, I've got enough positionals to pull off shenanigans. Most experienced, I'm there at 65 SPP. You're there at 60 as well. We're 1 and 2 for touchdowns, 11 and 7. Most injured, yeah, I'm glad I'm there. Not quite. Most completions.
I'm quite pleased. I'm on the beast chart as third most casualties, which is I'm not too upset with that with a high elf team. I think I've been lucky with a few positionals and been able to really. I've had one blitzer who's gone to town on casualties a little bit.
That's you actually causing casualties. That must be nice. Although Buzz Justice is doing all right. Oh yeah, because you can split this by team and player, can't you?
Yeah. So I think my 2 blitzers have got 5 casualties between them. So I have really used them as punchy blitzers, and they've rolled well on the armor dice.
And we are best run. 4 and 3 drips consecutive wins. It's cool. It's good representing. Let's have a quick look at the player chart. Most valued big guy. I've got my new Rat Ogre there, so that's fine. Most experienced thrower. Then we've got your Blitzer with 14 SPP. Best performance. Yeah, the anonymous thrower there, and your guys are right behind him as well.
My thrower right behind him. Yeah.
My Gutters have got 4 touchdowns apiece. There's your Blitzer there with 3 casualties, as well as Buzz Justice. Most injured, look at that. 3 out of the 5 top injured players are all mine.
Play every team like Scape. Oh, this is the Scape.
I know, right? MVPs, doesn't really matter. Buzz Justice has swung 2. Most sent off. I'm not going to be on that list. And there you go, most completions.
Your throwers are really, really taking it out between them.
And I love this. You can click on a player and it brings up, I think, it brings up their team. But anyway.
Just goes to the team, yeah.
I've now got on the ball as well as accurate for this guy.
Which will be very handy in your 7s game.
But he's getting expensive now, 125k. But gutter runners are so cheap.
Yeah. Well, and 50k lineman means you can...
Exactly.
For 50k linemen still gives you 400 to play with.
Yeah.
4 linemen for me leaves me with 320 to squeeze 3 players in.
Not a lot at all.
And I can barely get 2 positionals at the moment into that.
This gutter runner, I've got 8 SPP, I think. Now, this is it. They're playing the short league. It really does affect your skill choices, doesn't it? Because I'd be inclined...
you can't really save. Really save.
That's it. I'd want to save up for a double and give him 2 heads, but actually I think sidestep is probably the better thing to do with him. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, I mean, it's been a ton of fun because it feels like it's a bit of a shorter league. It feels more focused. But it's more focused, but really once a month. And I'll tell you what, I'm having an absolute blast running the Skaven, and I really hope that the rest of the league goes on. Obviously, we're only 3 games in. Could go horribly wrong right now. You know, if you think about it, 4 games in, the Packers were 3-1, and now it's terrible. So,
I can see what's going to happen. We're both going to do reasonably well in the 7s, and then meet someone in the 7s, which will obliterate our teams, and then it'll drag our 11s down as well. Because you'll be like, oh, I've got no one fit left.
We might play each other in the 7s because we're going through to the next round, aren't we?
Yeah.
That'd be cool. That'd be a shootout, I reckon. But no, it's been a ton of fun so far, and I just thought it was worth kind of catching up on because this is a really good example of how to run a Blood Bowl league. 1 game every 3 weeks.
a really good example of how tour play really helps league engagement, because
Oh, yeah.
players are looking at the league and looking at what's going on and looking at the other teams. And yeah, really, it's really nice software.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with it. Now, the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about today, Trips, because I was looking at my group and I was looking at Lizards, and I got a bit of a hang up because I lost to them in the Wobble final a few years ago against Lewis, and I kind of thought, well, actually, Skaven, they've got a couple of matchups that are terrifying, and I wanted to get your thoughts on High Elves. Now you've had a few games piloting
Yeah.
them. What matchups do you think are a bad matchup for High Elves?
So I think for High Elves, I think the first matchup that's bad is actually, I'm not a big fan of playing Skaven with them, because the one thing that High Elves do really well as a team is they've got a collective high speed. When you take the strength of a team and you up it by going, well, have you met my gutter runners? That really takes away the ability to run around on the pitch a lot. But then I think the other, and they're probably the more obvious ones for High Elves, which are the really bad, are your more movement frenzy kind of teams who can really start to wreck you, because you're not going to be playing with a team of 13 or 14 with High Elves. I would not like to play a Khorne team with High Elves. I think I would end up with straight off 3 linemen in the casualty box, and I would not want to play sevens against an 11 Khorne team. You're going to be down numbered very quickly, and
And you're going to
you won't
snowball
have.
at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's interesting you picked out Skaven there because in that matchup, the High Elf team there has to become the Bash team.
has to become the best team here.
They're a great mid-range team. Like they're resilient. They are remarkably resilient. High Elves. They've got strength 3 everywhere. They've got reasonable armor on their linemen. So actually, they're perfectly resilient. Like they're edge 4 humans as they used to be. But they can't do a lot of damage out of the gate. Now you've got your tackle boy. That's going to start going really well, I think.
Yeah, Tackle Boy was definitely a reaction to having played a Skaven and an Underworld team and go, I really need a tackle piece. I mean, I need a piece to be alive long enough to get SPP for tackle, but yeah. I think block, dodge, tackle is the way I will go with my blitzers.
Yeah, they kind of become removal at that point, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think that's really fair. I mean, for Skaven, the reason Lizardmen are such a bad matchup, potentially for the way I play, like that's probably what it is. But the Skinks, like, they're free on that team. They're almost as fast as gutter runners, and because of the way they're stunty 3+, they're almost as, if not more, agile than the gutters. So
Yeah.
the way Skaven work is that they sneak through little gaps that you didn't know existed, and then they go loiter just out of range. Well, when it comes to lizards, their heavy hitters are movement 6, so they've got a massive range, and the skinks have got such reach and agility that the gutter runner is never out of reach, and strength 2 against strength 2 is good enough. So
Yeah.
the kind of like the fast elements don't match up brilliantly, and then the fact that all the linemen, you know, the core pieces who are on the line for lizards of strength 4 means that every single block is going to be a profitable 2-die block. We're going to ignore the Croxicle because that just doubles down, but generally speaking, they outbash you and they take away. It's funny, you've said the advantage of the elves is their agility and speed. Well, when it comes to, I think, playing against lizards, the speed of the Skaven team, you're 1 square faster, but they are 1 strength heavier.
Yeah. And you can use that speed to try and get away, but that's where those skinks will be lurking at the back, and the chameleon skink has the flexibility to try and shadow you around to stop you doing the stretch play with the passing, because you've got on the ball that will move players around, and
it's just a free movement.
you can run your gutters away from the Saurus, and that'll be absolutely fine. But there will be two chameleon skinks, or a chameleon skink and a normal skink, and all of a sudden a chameleon skink's blitzing in on 2 dice on a gutter.
Exactly, which is just, at that point you're just being blitzed by a strength 3-piece, and that's, you know, the other one there is that Necro are an interesting matchup, because actually I think low speed, low agility teams match up really nicely against, honestly, both of our teams, right? We've got good to great movement and good to great agility. When it comes to Necro, it's because they've got those wolves that they are a fearsome enemy for Skaven, at least, because the werewolf is the best anti-gutter piece out there.
Yeah.
I love the Ulfwerener as a safety, and therefore I love the Seekers as well, Blood Seekers. But at movement 8, werewolves are 4 dice gutter eating machines. So that's just a terrifying thing, and I'm really glad that I managed to escape my game with Adam I pressured his wolves. That was my kind of like, actually I sacrificed linemen, which is very Ben, to keep the wolves busy, to keep them away from the gutters, and just because that was it. By the way, the wraiths, he only had one of them, and it was a horrible piece, very aggravating.
Yeah, they are a real annoyance piece, because of the setup and detail. What I like about a Wraith, and only played with Necro a couple of times, is because of the no hands, that almost frees them up as a piece when you're playing as a coach, because like, this is not a piece that is going to be interacting with the ball. So their job is not to worry about the ball. Their job is to worry about everything else that you want to do. And we know how annoying sidestep is as a skill.
And but sidestep
on a piece which has got block and foul appearance,
you can't waste your blitz on it. I was lining up my blitz every turn, and I'm just looking at this guy, and I'm like, I cannot engage with him. First of all, blitzing a sidestep piece, well, from playing blooming sevens, 7 Super Series, and those blooming blodge step elves, like, first of all, block step is just really aggravating. Then you've got foul appearance on the top of it, because you know what's going to happen. I'm going to blitz that guy, and it's either going to be a 1, and that's the end of my activation, or it's going to be both down push, which means I die, or he gets to move exactly where he wants him to be.
Or worse still, he gets to go, I shall go where I need to go to do what I want to do next turn, and thank you for my free movement.
Yeah, so absolutely love the Wraith. I think they're even better than I thought. So yeah, the Necro team is a tough. It's not a tough matchup, but it is a risky matchup, I think, is what I'd say. Obviously, there's dwarves, and you know, dwarves can be a brutal matchup for any team. But I think those are probably the bad matchups for me with the way I play Skaven. Lizards and do you know what, Drips? I actually think you're right. I think Khorne, a Khorne Cascade, could wreck a team that's low on reserves, and Skaven have got low armor and, generally speaking, low reserves. High elves, they've got good armor, but even lower on reserves, right?
Yeah, I mean, then my next game will be the first one I've run with 12, and you can already see my TV is bloating up because of the way it's going, and it's like, I don't really want to buy any more players, because I do not want to face any more star players as a result of it.
And this is it, and I'm in that same place. Let's buy another lineman. There we go. I'm going to go with 13, because it's just it does bloat the TV. There you go. Now number 1 for TV. But actually, I always try and keep my players at 11 or 12 to keep that, like you said, to keep that TV, to stop giving those extra inducements. But the difference of playing with 8 players or 11 is I'd rather have 3 more linemen and let you have Griff, because at least I will be able to play the game, even if it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, and any team that doesn't have a big sort of strength or block base, one of the worst things that can happen is that outnumbering, and you only need to be down by 2 players, and all of a sudden you've got your opponent is getting 2 or 3 extra 2-dice blocks that you didn't want to see beforehand. And all of a sudden, and just a plain old lineman suddenly becomes a strength piece when you go, oh, it's a lineman. And we throw a guard piece in there somewhere, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm running away.
Yeah.
And all I'm doing is running away. I'm not actually trying to do anything. I'm just trying to get away.
Oh, the Lizardman team's got 2 Blocksaurus already. And a Chameleon Skink at 7 SPP. He has not taken a skill yet. That's interesting. Come on. Take, save up. Take it. Take accurate. Come on. You can do it. Anyway, Trips, I think that's going to probably wrap it up for today.
I think so, yeah. It's good.
I'm not sure when we're back. Could be next week. I think it might be next week. We'll have to figure it out and see what's going on. Obviously, Ben's on his travels in Thailand at the moment, so he'll be back at some point too. And
touring the beaches and hobby clubs of Thailand.
Oh, they've got some cool game shops there. I'm looking forward to him coming back so he can tell us about his adventures. But I've been looking forward to chatting with you today about Blood Bowl. So I really appreciate it. It's nice to catch up. Obviously, I saw you Monday, but we were both in the midst of several games of Blood Bowl, so not the best time. But thanks very much for hanging out. And guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking.